Hey, what's up, guys? Today we are going to be exploring my initial thoughts and reaction to Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I just picked this up the other day and have been working my way through it. This video is the first in a series of videos on Tasha's that will take deeper dives into the individual sections. But what I wanted to do with this video was just to kind of lay out the initial groundwork, what the book is, what it brings to the table, and my thoughts on it. I'm certainly excited to dig down deep some of the new subclasses, the class of Artificer itself, the Warlock patrons of Genie, and stuff like that. They all really are exciting. I think they offer lots of cool play options and play styles that I'm looking forward to talking about with you. But this video is more going to be focused on the overall theme of the book, which is pretty simply optional customization. What you won't find in this book are earth-shattering ideas or game-breaking new things. You're going to find some powerful class options. You're going to find powerful spells. You're going to find interesting customization for characters. But that's all kind of the side story. The real story with this book is that you have flexibility both as a player and as a DM, and the contract that you enter into with someone at your gaming table is what sets the rules and boundaries for your game. Now, people have gone into the socio-political impacts of these sorts of claims and these sorts of tactics for the book. You can see my other video about Polygon having a fit about how this book handles, or more appropriately doesn't handle, race in the way that they want it to. And that's all fine and good. Move past all of the dramatic political, social pressures and questions, and get down to the root of what this book is. When you sit down at the table, either you're a dungeon master or you're a player, you sit down with a group of people and you're about to tell a story and engage in that story, which means it's yours. All of D&D, all of role-playing games, what they provide is a framework to guide the story so it's not just an aimless mess. They provide you a set of rules that will help you facilitate various aspects of the story and add challenge and difficulty, but also accomplishability to the stuff that comes in if it's maintained in a way that follows some level of guidance. You don't have to do any of this. You can have a first level party be wiped out by, a red dragon having a bad day. That's part of D&D if you want it to be. It could be this thing where your DM gathers up your new party, you go in, you create all these characters and backstories, and then what the DM does is he comes in and kills them all right away in a nasty total party kill. And the whole purpose is you're now supposed to be the offspring or progeny or disciples of this adventuring group, and you start with a whole fresh sheet of characters that you don't really know. That's a fun way to get in and start building a cast of characters in a way that forces players to improvise. For example, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything just provides more structure, recommendations around how to do some of this stuff. And some of the really cool sections that aren't as sexy from like a power gaming perspective, because yeah, I want to know how this subclass interacts and what sort of cool spell combinations I can get. That's one aspect of the game, and that's a pretty popular one for players. But this book has various other things in it, like how do you get a team patron, and what do team patrons look like, and more importantly, how can a team patron advance with the story in a guided way rather than a way where, the DM just sort of creates one. It offers guidance. It offers ideas. It offers some randomizers to help do this if you don't want to come up with the storytelling elements. It's an aid for dungeon masters and players alike. And that is the real selling point of this book. In my opinion, that is, because you can find the class list. You can find all of this stuff online. Much of it was from the Unearthed Arcana that was already being published by Wizards of the Coast. This consolidates, solidifies, and puts into a handy sort of guidebook all of this stuff that players have been using in playtesting over the past, I don't know what, year or so since this stuff started being released. And that's where the strength of the book is. But it's laid out in the opening page of the book using this book. And I'm going to read you one section that kind of captures the spirit. It's all optional. Everything in this book is optional. Each group, guided by the DM, decides which of these options, if any, to incorporate into a campaign. You can use some, all, or none of them. We encourage you to choose the ones that fit best with your campaign story and with your group's style of play. Whatever options you choose to use, this book relies on the rules in the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and Dungeon Master's Guide, and it can be paired with the options in Xanathar's Guide to Everything and other D&D books. That's the thing. This is a list. It's a menu. Pick from it, incorporate it into your gaming tables. But what the value of this is that if you have a dungeon master who maybe gravitates towards one particular type of story and isn't as good at innovating new stories, and I think back to a Stephen King audiobook. It was called LT's Theory on Pets. It's a very short story by Stephen King. The whole read is like 45 minutes, something like that. And he gives a little speech at the beginning, and he talks about how when you do something over and over for years and years and years, for him being a horror writer, you don't have to write. It doesn't matter what you're writing. It all sort of gravitates towards that. You fall into these sort of niches that you're comfortable with. And I think that D&D players and DMs can get kind of funneled into these niches as well. I think Tasha's is a recognition of that ability, and it just expands on the sort of themes that already exist in D&D, and it allows these things to be fleshed out with some guidance and help, so you don't fall into the same channels and niches that you always end up doing. And with this, I think of with the group patrons I was talking about earlier. Is your group, now these are not like warlock patrons, right? The archfey and all of that stuff. A group patron is someone who facilitates basically doling out quests to your group. It's a handy story delivery device, but this thing creates some different group patrons for you. Is it a rich person? Is it some legendary creature, a dragon, undead? Is it an army? Like, are you with a band of bandits? Is it a criminal organization? And then how can you provide different benefits and environments in which your player characters can explore the organizations that they're serving, as well as getting quests through them? What type of quests would these types of organizations generate and be involved in? That's the type of guidance that's in the group patron feature, and it's really pretty interesting. They also have environment features, like they have an entire colony of mimics, for example, where mimics congregate together and make a giant illusory city. And how players can interact with something like that, other than the traditional, it's a mimic, you walk up to it and it tries to eat you. So this book provides that sort of guidance as well. And one of the other really cool features that I want to just preview, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go through over the next little while here. So if you like this stuff, please subscribe, like, share the videos, all of that stuff. But I'm going to go through this book, as section by section, and really start talking about some of these individual things in more details. And a preview of that I really like, a section, is about sidekicks. Now, lots of DMs are already incorporating sidekicks and sort of micro characters into their campaign. In campaigns that I've been playing in, some of them have sidekicks, some don't. But it's a way to add either features to a class or a group that might be missing a particular class. Like if you don't have a thief, for example, it might be pretty tough. If you have a bard, maybe you can make up for it, or a wizard. You have sort of a skill monkey class, that's fine. You can make up for a lot of stuff, but maybe you really need someone who can pick locks, go ahead and find traps. That's what the whole sidekick section is for, and this provides guidance on how you pick a sidekick, and more importantly, how you progress a sidekick along with the party without creating a full character sheet, you create sort of a mini character sheet that has some specific stuff. And it doesn't have as deep of class features, which makes some sense because, you know, your adventures are supposed to be unique. They're legendary. They're different. They're not the run-of-the-mill thing. That's actually the basis for the racial changes in the book, where it says, look, the racial stats that we provide in regular D&D are based on archetypal normative features of a particular race and culture. You can go beyond that. You can change it. You're not bound by those stat distributions. You might have a dwarf who's a waif, right? You might have a dwarf who doesn't have a hardy constitution, who's weaker, who's sickly, but is maybe mentally more adept or is actually attractive, so they have a high charisma. Like you can have those things in the book, or the book allows for those sorts of things for the customization because your characters are unique. What's interesting about the sidekick section is it gives a more run-of-the-mill approach to this particular thing. It's more archetypal, it's less individualized, and that's a nice break from a lot of decision making that would go into creating a full character sheet for a sidekick. It also, like I said, it tells you how to progress a sidekick through. And one of the most interesting options I think the sidekick section provides, it doesn't lay this out, right? This is just from my experience playing a lot during COVID online and under quarantine, and especially playing with an established sort of audience of people who may want to step in for a game. The sidekick section allows a DM or another player to create a truncated character where other people can participate in limited roles in a gaming session without having to commit. So you can have your core group, 3 to 5 players, but say you've got a buddy who wants to join in or get a taste of the D&D experience, you can set them up with a fighter or a warrior sidekick. They can encounter him at a bar, hire him as a mercenary for a particular dungeon where you need a little bit more sword swinging power, and then have someone play a session or two without committing to 20, 30, 40 sessions of D&D. That's a great way to get people into the game. It's a great way for people like me who do live streams with these games, where you can incorporate fans or audience members or other creators in a limited sort of way, and then let them bow out without having to make a huge commitment. These are the types of things in this book. I think it's got a lot of potential. I love some of the stuff in it. For some of the next videos, we'll probably be delving into the new class, subclass options, what I think about them. And yeah, I hope you'll join me for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, again, please like, subscribe, share. I'm trying to build up this channel to do this sort of fun escapist content. If you like D&D, if you like sci-fi, if you like anime, those sorts of things are things you'll find on this channel. Warhammer, you'll find some Warhammer coming as well. If you want to explore that stuff with me, please like, subscribe, share. I hope you have a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. Peace.